I used to be the kind of woman who would finish a project and then quickly moving on to the next thing. And I did that for so long that I burnt out completely. It took some distance to realize what I had actually been doing. I would finish something easy, challenging, it didn't matter. Close the laptop, open the laptop, start working on a new thing. No pause, no acknowledgement, just good old productivity on a rinse and repeat cycle. I believed at that point it was discipline, productivity, and success. Those days are over for me now, and I would like them to be over for you too. So today I want to talk about why celebrating success every single day matters and how to start in ways that feel good, not performative. So let me ask you, when was the last time you celebrated a win, a success that wasn't attached to something huge, like a big milestone, like a birthday, promotion, or someone else giving you permission? If you can't remember, you are not alone. In my experience, most women struggle to see their progress or accomplishments as success. We downplay them with lines like, "Oh, it was no big deal. I just did what anybody would do." Culturally, we are trained to focus on those big, shiny external markers. We've all heard the six-figure business, the dream house, the dream job. They are all awesome. But we've been conditioned to believe that anything less than that, less than extraordinary, is invisible. And discounting the everyday wins comes at a real cost, because if nothing counts unless it's huge, it kind of tanks the motivation because we're always starting from zero. And it rewires our brains to be aware of the gaps, not the gains, which literally makes it harder to see the progress even when we are making it. And research from positive psychology backs this up. Dr. Sean Archer's work shows that our brain's pattern recognition gets trained on whatever we are consistently focusing on. If we only ever focus on what's missing, we're literally becoming less capable of seeing what is working. So if we're stuck in this pattern of dismissing our wins, what's actually at stake here? Well, let's talk about what happens when we spend years, maybe decades, operating this way. You start to lose trust in yourself. Because if you've never actually paused to acknowledge what you've accomplished, how do you know you're capable? How do you build confidence for the next challenge when you're not allowing yourself to feel successful from the last one? There's also the possibility that relationships can suffer. And you also rob yourself of the fuel that keeps you going, that keeps you energized. Neuroscience is clear on this. When you celebrate, your brain releases that dopamine hit, that feel-good chemical that literally wires in the behavior that you want to keep you going. It was a Stanford researcher who termed it the celebration effect. He found that immediate positive emotion is the fastest way to rewire behavior. Not discipline, not willpower, celebration. Done immediately, authentically, and consistently. So every time you skip the celebration, you're in danger of making the next step just that little bit harder. And you can find yourself running on empty and wondering why you can't sustain momentum. After many years of doing it the hard way. Many years. Here is what I now know. This is not about becoming less driven or lowering your standards. It's about building a sustainable momentum, a sustainable rhythm instead of the boom and the bust cycles that I experience, the kind that leaves you exhausted and feeling constantly behind. So celebrating daily success isn't about like throwing a confetti party when you do something like brushing your teeth. It's about training your brain to notice progress when it happens. If you've brushed your teeth every day for the last 10 years, it's not progress. The key is about training the brain as it happens. Not 3 months later, not at the end of the week, as it happens. And here are what changes. It's a builder of genuine confidence. Instead of the I'm not doing enough, you can start to think and look how far I've come. That creates a visceral shift. Then there is the creation of sustainable momentum. And this is the part I love. Success starts to feel good, not just look good. And when it feels good, you get to keep going without the constant internal battle. There's also the rewriting of your relationship with success or achievement. You get to be someone who stops all the chasing and start being someone who lives it, like experiences it daily. Let's use the example of learning to drive. Every time you could start the ignition without stalling, change the gears without grinding, might be back in the day, every time you could do a parallel or a reverse parallel park, those small wins stacked up until you became more confident behind the wheel. And then we get to the point where it's like driving automatically. It's like, how did I get home? That's what is acknowledgement and a celebration can do. And I know some of you are thinking, sure, driving, everyone can do that, doesn't count. But does that really make your personal achievement any less meaningful? I know what mastering driving takes. I once took a left-hand turn when learning to drive so wide that I took out a stop sign on the other side of the road. Also happened to have the local school bus with my peers travelling past as I did that. Very embarrassing, mortifying. I've also been the driving instructor for 3 children and 1 sibling. It's terrifying. Every increment from active threat to public and personal safety to competent driver absolutely deserves acknowledgement. Your brain doesn't distinguish between challenges that everybody has done and things that challenged you. What it knows is you did something hard and you succeeded. So the success moment doesn't have to be big and flashy. It is personal. And it's about what has stretched you, even slightly. The smaller the better, I say. For example, you got out of bed and went for a walk in the morning when you would have preferred not to. That's a win. Celebrate it. You spoke up in a meeting when your whole body was screaming at you to stay silent. That is the win. You chose for a few minutes to take a breath before pushing through. That is a win. You acknowledged that you were experiencing a sense of fear instead of just trying to bury it. That's a win. These aren't trivial. They are the building blocks of the life that you want and the person who you are becoming. And if the voice in your head just said, this feels indulgent, or I don't have time for this, that's exactly the conditioning that we are rewiring for. Just popping in to say the good news is this is something you can absolutely start rewiring immediately in a way that is simple and doable. And if this sounds like something that you're interested in, just watch out for the next video. I'm going to start talking you through how to celebrate success in a way that feels good, in a way that sticks. See you then.